All right, well, mail-in ballots have become a major talking point around the 2020 election, especially as social distancing makes them more appealing to voters. But the president is one of the loudest voices against them. Last week, he took aim at Michigan's Secretary of State for sending out absentee ballot applications. And joining us now is Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson. Secretary, great to have you with us this morning. Explain what happened when the president took to Twitter to ridicule your move.
Well, interestingly, he got it wrong. We actually, in Michigan, mailed applications to every registered voter throughout our state last week to ensure that everyone would know, regardless of how they were going to cast their vote, that they would have a right to vote by mail in this fall's election. It was a way of us trying to provide some certainty and clarity at a time of great uncertainty. And the president got it wrong. Not only did he not know my name, it seems, although I think he does now. He also didn't know that we had sent applications, not ballots, which I have not only the authority to do under Michigan law, but the responsibility to do for all of our voters.
Mhm. So, how essential to your state are these mail in ballots come November?
Well, citizens, for the first time in Michigan's history, have amended our state constitution to give themselves this right to vote by mail. And so, recognizing that, we wanted to ensure everyone knew how to access that right, which, in our view, was a quite simple way of promoting voter education and certainty, even in this time of uncertainty that the coronavirus pandemic unfortunately has imposed on all of us. And then we also received federal funding to do just that. And my colleagues in West Virginia, in Iowa, in Georgia, in Nebraska, and just recently Wisconsin are now doing the same thing. It's a simple way to just educate our voters about their choice to vote by mail this fall. It's really not something that should be controversial at all when it comes to just ensuring every citizen can access their vote. And so it was quite surprising to us and to many, not only that it was controversial, but also that we needed to correct the inaccuracies out there, including in the president's tweet about what we were actually doing and our authority to do so under the law.
A major criticism of mail in voting is the opportunity for voter fraud, the susceptibility. And so, Secretary, how is your team working to prevent voter fraud from happening with this process?
It's an important question. We have looked to the states that have been allowing vote by mail for decades, Colorado, Oregon, Washington, and several others, to implement a lot of their same security provisions that they've had to ensure there's no fraud in the ballot by mail process. And what that essentially is a number of signature checks. It's very difficult, if not impossible, to forge someone's signature. And both the application, of course, the registration to vote, the application to request your ballot by mail, as well as the ballot itself must be in an envelope with your signature on it to confirm your identity and that you are who you say you are. If those signatures don't match, and we have implemented strict statewide guidelines for how to match those signatures, then the ballots are immediately questioned, and we encourage our clerks to then contact the voter whose name is on the ballot to inform them that the signatures don't match and go from there. Sometimes the signatures will be cured by the voter. Of course, in that case, if there's any type of fraud involved, that's how we catch it. So the bottom line is we've got time-tested security measures in place to protect against fraud and to ensure, in the rare circumstances that it does occur, we catch it and we prosecute it appropriately.
So, obviously, a very tedious process, Secretary. What will this mean on election night when it comes to tallying these results? Are you hiring more people within the state to better detect potential fraud?
Yes, so we've done a number of things to prepare for a historic number of ballots mailed through the mail or delivered through the mail from our voters. Among other things, we are working to provide more machines to our clerks to process these ballots quickly. We've launched a democracy MVP recruitment effort to recruit election workers to help process these ballots across the state. That's been very successful. We're also urging our legislature to pass laws to give our clerks more time to process these ballots. Right now, they can't even begin to process them, let alone count them until election day itself. And the last thing we're doing also, though, is preparing everyone with the expectation that it may take a little bit longer to get election results come
Mm.
November from Michigan and many other states as well. So we hope to deliver results as soon as possible after the polls close, but it may take even up to several days before we're able to give a final account of Michigan's vote. And to us, that's important because accuracy is paramount to getting something out quickly. And so we're going to be working to ensure the accuracy takes precedent. And we're asking for everyone's patience if indeed it does take a little bit of extra time to deliver those accurate results.
And if it does take several days, Secretary, how are you prepared to handle criticism from the president?
Well, I think what we've seen this week and what my colleagues as well have seen is that criticism is going to come one way or the other, whether it's from the president or other sources, because what it really reflects is an effort that I'm deeply concerned about, and as well as many of my colleagues, to misinform the public about their rights as a way of sowing seeds of doubts in the sanctity of the elections process itself. And that has serious consequences for our country, for our democracy. And that to me is the biggest variable as we move towards November. I anticipate these attacks on the sanctity of our process, whether it's in the form of attacking vote by mail or something else, will only increase in the months ahead. And we all have to be vigilant against that, recognize that it's going to happen, and seek out trusted sources and reliable sources of information, including secretaries of state and other election administrators, to ensure the facts are getting to voters as opposed to misinformation and hyperbole that will only result in voters losing confidence in the very fabric of our democracy that is so important that we uphold and preserve right now.
What is the state forecasting in terms of the percentage of voters who will choose the mail in option?
I could see it's going to be at least half of our voters, if not 75%. We just had an election May 5th, a local election, in which 99% of our voters voted by mail. I wouldn't expect that same high number for November, but it certainly indicates the significant popularity of the option to be able to vote without leaving your home. And so we're prepared for as many as 75 or 80% in some jurisdictions to vote by mail. But the biggest focus on my end right now is just making sure if a citizen does want to vote by mail, they know how to exercise that choice.